Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Washington Chess Congress. It is the 8th round, and my opponent for this round is Kirk Gazarian, who's about 16, 17 years old, 23 FIDE master. I think he has 1 or 2 IM norms. And I played him in 2017. I was black. We played in Texas, and we drew that game, if I'm not mistaken. To be honest with you, before this game, I did not sleep great, I didn't do a whole lot of preparing either. I kind of decided that I knew what he was going to play, so I was ready. I had a weapon prepared, and I'd been waiting to test it out for a while, and I had a good amount of practice, I was ready for battle, because if I win this game, I'm in the plus now for the tournament on rating, maybe 2 or 3 points, and then I have a final round game against a strong player, and I can really end strong. So I began with d4. He actually didn't go knight f6, he played e6, and I suppose he was trying to avoid the Trzymkowski, but I do not play that in classical chess, but it is the #1 thing in my database, but we got this position. And he likes the semi-Slav according to his database with d5, c6. I've been looking at the semi-Slav like all tournament, but I was ready for the Nimso. I don't usually allow the Nimso, but I have been studying it, and it's fascinating, and I've been playing blitz games, and I've actually been doing a pretty considerable amount of work on a couple of different lines in the Nimso. And one in particular is the Samish, which you play after a3. And a3 just makes the bishop commit to taking you. And you combine a3 with either f3, e4, or some e3, bishop d3, and slow buildup of the center. Black's general game plan here is to commit very quickly to either c5 and general plans involving the weakness of your c4 pawn, with bishop a6, a knight coming to c6 and then a5, or to just go back to traditional, like, 2 pawns in the center. This is different because now white can alleviate the weakness, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really find any games of his, but he played c5, and I played f3, and he played knight c6. And what I knew about this position is that Salem Saleh from the UAE really likes to play some really interesting stuff here. Like, for example, in this position, after queen a5, Salem has played this move. And, I knew this because I have studied his games. And the idea of king f2 is, yes, you can take on c3, but all of a sudden, after take, and something like knight e2, or even queen d6, and not right away, because you're going to hang a rook. Don't hang a rook. You actually get, like, a fascinating position with, like, the queen coming here. And I've seen this, and like I said, I've worked on it. But like I said, generally, black's strategy is to play d6, and to play b6, bishop a6, knight a5. Black cannot rush with bishop a6 because I still have queen a4, and as long as the king is in the middle, I will have ideas to play d5 and crash it through. So I play bishop d3, he plays e5. Now I'm sitting there thinking over the board, in blitz, like in maybe the 10 or 15 games over the past few weeks that I've gotten to basically this exact same position with some move order differences, I've played the move knight e2 without even thinking. I've just played this move offhand because I get to this position. Black now castles out of the way of the queen a4 idea. I play knight g3. Well, first I play d5. I close the center so that I cannot be taken. The knight comes here, and now I reach the pawn in time. I reach the pawn in time. And when the queen goes here to try to come here, I always play a4. I've had this in a few blitz games, and the position is just super nice for white because you completely shut off the queen side for black, and I've had games where I just go forward on the king side, bam, 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 and I just win. So I'm sitting there at the board, right? This is how things start to look different over the board, and I'm like, wait a minute, what if I play knight e2? I mean, taking is nothing, just so you guys are understanding why nobody's taking in the middle here. Even with 1 capture or 2, white just has more space. You've undoubled my pawn. And a structure like this is just always a little bit better for white. This is a huge weakness for black. It's tough to attack, but I mean, I have the bishop pair. I have more space. This is no longer really a problem because I have rook c1, so this is not something that black ever really wants to do. But I'm sitting there thinking over the board, what if after knight e2, this guy plays queen d7? I couldn't understand because with this move order, if I play knight to g3, he takes on d4. So if I play d5, which is usually my strategy, then after this, I have to go knight g3, and then he goes here, and then I go here, and then he goes here. And I'm like, wait a minute, he got to a4, and I'm losing this pawn. I'm like, wait, did I do something wrong? Or am I, is that just the move order I've never analyzed? Because usually they just castle. They just castle to get out of the queen a4 thing. So queen a4, and I was like, yes, I have knight f5, and it's a fork. But what happens if he just goes king d7? As ridiculous as this looks, Am I really going to take this? Why am I taking this? I'm attacking nothing. I'm going to come back. I'm not threatening this. He's going to take on c4. He's going to trade my bishop, maybe trade my queen. I don't know how to evaluate this position. Well, I'll tell you. Computer just thinks white is better here. It thinks that this is like the best sequence of moves. And white is better here. It does not believe in whatever black is doing on the queen side. Just thinks I'm going to castle and, slowly break through somehow. Admittedly, seeing the 7 moves in advance from this position was slightly concerning. I'm like sitting there going, is this really what I'm supposed to do in this position? Is there no way to get to my optimal setup? Like, is this some sort of move order I've just never experienced? Because again, that's what happens when you don't have a whole lot of experience in a position. And then there was other options, like for example, I can just abandon this c4 pawn completely. Like, he can play like knight a5, and I'll play like d5, bishop a6, and like knight g3. Just give him the pawn. Just completely give him the pawn. You go ahead, take it. Engine loves it too. Apparently, I can just give it away. Apparently, I can just give him the pawn. I don't even have to defend the pawn. He can go bishop c4. It really makes no difference to me. I'll play like here, bishop g5. Computer loves this position for white. It just doesn't think this is a problem. Because I'm threatening to take, I guess, damage the structure, queen e2, kick the knight out, rotate my rooks, attack the queen side, or attack the king side. But I didn't want to just give a pawn away. So I'm like, okay, so this is my plan. I'm going to play d5, knight a5, and since I think this move order is a bit of a problem, I'm going to choose between a4 to prevent queen d7, queen a4, or g4 to prevent a4, knight h5, because I actually thought knight h5 was a very strong move, and according to the engine it is, because black is now in time to create offensive counterplay on the other side of the board. So I said, you know what? G4. Problem solved. Now black plays bishop a6, I go queen e2, I play a4, if castles, all right, I'm not going to get my knight to e2, but I'll get my knight, here, or I'll just delay. I was like queen e2, queen a2 to defend c4. I came up with a strategy. And as I'm walking around the room after coming up with g4, I'm like, wait, can't he play h5? And he does. It's not a losing move. It's just forcing me to advance to g5. And now he's going to try to get his knight right here. That's what I thought. He's going to go knight g8, knight e7, knight g6. He's rerouting. Or he's going to go knight h7, knight f8, knight g6. Okay, h4. And then he shocks me. He plays this move. And I'm like, what? That move just doesn't... That doesn't strike me as a move that... I mean, I get it. But really? Like, that's so weak. I was even thinking to just, like, bishop h3, like, just sack a pawn. Like, just sack a pawn and... I don't know, somehow try to, like, if he plays knight g5, I don't know, rook g3, something. This doesn't look kosher. I don't know. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, f6. I mean, I gotta probably go f4 to attack h5. He's gonna come in with the bishop, and then I can actually just slide back and offer him an exchange. The other thing I noticed on bishop g4 is the fact that I can also come out here with a check. Now, if I go out to a4 with a check, what I want to happen with the pawns is I want them frozen. I actually don't want the board opened up. So, for example, if king f7 or king f8, I actually was thinking like well, actually, king f8 is terrible because the knight gets trapped. So king f7. I was thinking something like this f5, like close everything. Make it really difficult for his pieces to ever breathe again, and then get this bishop out and then figure something out because it's so locked. I figured I was happy here. The problem is that after queen a4, I also was like, what if he just plays queen d7? Well, apparently I just take it. I just take on d7. And what I thought made no sense was trading queens in the structure, because how the hell am I going to guard those pawns? It's just always a problem. I'm like, I can't trade the queens. What happens if he brings his bishop back around? Who is going to be responsible for the pawn? No one is equipped in my position to defend c4. So I said, I calculated this. I calculated bishop to e2. And for example, if take, and by the way, if he cannot take this, I would lose my queen, but I have the queen a4 check. So I thought take, this is hanging, I'm in good shape. g6, f5, I mean, I'm just crashing through. And then I thought, well, what if he guards? And I'm like, oh, that's easy, then I just disconnect. I just disconnect his pieces, I have more space, I'm very happy. And if he takes me, that's also not a problem, because I'll just take, he will go here attacking my pawn and trying to create long castles. I calculated take here, queen e7, and I'm actually just going to give him the pawn. I was really excited to actually play this. Queen e4, king f2, giving up the rook. with rook e1 ideas. Like, if he takes, he's just losing, actually. I just, like, get in with my queen pawn, and it's almost mate. It's unbelievable. Or bishop d6 is, like, mate in a couple moves. I calculated queen e7. I'm like, all right, this game is heating up. So I went for it. And then he played here, which I had only thought of offensive moves. He played a defensive move, and I'm just losing. And you would think from the title of a video, you know, when you see a title, you're like, oh, this is going to be like a systematic, constant obliteration, right? No. This was just one move, and I was sitting at the board like, I'm losing on move 17 again. Like, not exactly on move 17, but this is now, I don't know how many games in a row that I have posed 0 problems with the white pieces. It's actually pretty fascinating, and I could have posed some problems in this game. I really could have. And the most frustrating thing, and we'll get to the end of the game, the most frustrating thing about this is I actually put work into this line. I actually reviewed it, practiced it, and so now I'm just thinking, like, am I doing what I've always said in my videos, like fake studying, like fake dopamine rush whenever I'm studying? Am I actually not doing such deep level analysis of the positions that some one moment over the board looks slightly different than I'm used to, and I just don't figure it out? Because it's like taking the training wheels off. Right now, I'm practicing on a tricycle, and every time you take the training wheels off, I crash into a tree. Every single time. I mean, at some point, I'm going to get a concussion. Anyway, this is completely lost because I have 0 development. I have no initiative. I cannot activate my queen and take the pawn anymore. He has constant threats of taking on g5 and attacking my rook. This is hanging, and he's castling. He's castling. Once he castles, he just goes straight down the middle. So I played this to make sure my rook is protected. He did this. I defended my pawns. He played rook e8, and he now threatens a million different things. He threatens queen a4 to win this. He threatens queen f5 to fork these 2 pawns because of the pin on my king. He threatens pawn takes g5. I played one more move, and I actually wanted him to end the game in style, which he did, which is pawn takes, and a move that doesn't look possible. Knight takes g5. If I take, I lose my rook, and if I go here, he can probably just take on h8, because if I take, he has a back ranker. Not mate, but he wins my rook, or he has knight f3, king f2, rook h8, and when he played knight takes g5, I just resigned. I don't really know how to sugarcoat the title of this video, but yeah, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating, and I mean, what more to say? Hopefully, we finish strong. And this is definitely a game that makes you want to go back into the lab and kind of fill in the gaps and everything. But it's also strange because this is the one game since I've come back to competitive chess in 26 games that I've lost to a person that's not a grandmaster. In Vegas, I lost to 3 GMs. In Charlotte, I lost to 2 people who became GMs. And here I lost to 2 GMs. And yeah, this game is not very, it's not very nice. There's not a very nice feeling to play chess like this. So, just gotta get better. But I'll see you all for the final round.